Hi, I'm Kenzie, and this is A Dancing Nerd Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about my TBR for the month of April. In the month of April, I'm participating in the Magical Readathon hosted by G from the Book Roast. Now, there are 14 different subjects for Magical Readathon. I'm going to tell you hopeful ones. I don't need all of these for my calling. Um, I'm still trying to decide between two different callings, the Illusionist Rogue, which I've done the last 3 years, or the Lexomancer. So for Illusionist Rogue, I would need Shapeshifting, Art of Illusion, and Cytonics and Divination. For the Shapeshifting prompt, the prompt is miniature dragon in the title, on the cover, or in the story. The book that I've chosen is A Rune of Shattered Secrets by Max Walker. That one, it's about a human magic user and a dragon shifter romance. And so that's my shape-shifting prompt. The next is Art of Illusion, which the prompt is distance manipulation. Book you already planned for the month. And the one that I'm going to be reading is Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. I've been meaning to continue on with the Infernal Devices series, and I was planning on reading it this month. I didn't know, I was going to try and squeeze it into Magical Readathon. Didn't know what prompt until the announcement video, but that's the one that I'm going to be reading for that prompt. And Clockwork Prince is set in the Victorian era. I think it's like late 1800s. It's like, I think along like 1870s, 80s. I think maybe even the 1890s, because I know that the next series in the Shadowhunter Chronicles, it takes place in around like 1912, I think, somewhere in that time period. And it follows the kids of the characters in the Infernal Devices. So, yeah, and it's a fantasy-esque romance. Like, there's romantic elements in the fantasy. Anyways, moving on. Cytonics and Divination. The prompt is Psychokinesis, book with witches or the occult. This one I'm going to be reading a werewolf called Alman. Sorry, I'm not 100% certain how you pronounce that. By Michelle Frost. Now, I'm not 100% certain if witches are necessarily part of the storyline, because I think so Amon is a werewolf, but I think his love interest is a hellhound, I want to say. I might be wrong on that, don't quote me. But there are like witches slash warlocks in the world, and I know that it might like it's probably going to tie in to most definitely in a vampire called Leander, which I read last month. Which I also read last month, the book before that one, which was um, a warlock called Jacob. So it's possible I might have to switch that out during the month. Um, and then the next one is Alchemy, volume magnification, all capital book title. So the one that I'm going to be using is Fake Friends by Saxon James. Fake Friends is a contemporary romance with, I think it might be a second chance type romance. I read the first book a couple months ago, I think, maybe later 2024. But I really like Saxon's hockey romance books and like other contemporary romance books that are really intertwined. I'm not quite sure if her, I think it's called, or whatever that series is called. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember if I don't think they're like tightly tied in like her other series are. But I do want to continue that series. So the next one is Animal Studies, which is we're studying raccoons. Steal a book from another TBR. Now this one I may have to switch out because I'm waiting for a library hold on it. For now, I will put the picture on the screen, and that is The Mask of Mirrors. As that is the Mindwalker Guild buddy read, and my character is part of the Mindwalkers. So I'm guessing that The Mask of Mirrors is going to be on a lot of people that are part of the Mindwalkers TBRs. The next one is Conjuration, Locational Summons. So you have to use a random country generator for an author. Now, I did not think to record this, but one of the countries that I got was Jamaica. And so I did some research, and Everything by Nicola Yoon is so she is a she grew up in Jamaica and in Brooklyn. This is her debut novel. But I decided to pick this up. I believe I have watched the movie with my mom and my sister when it was in theaters. But this is what I'm reading for that prompt. I haven't really looked into it. I think there's a girl who has been told by her mom that like she has a very rare disease, that she basically is allergic to everything. But yeah, I'm not going to say what else I think because I think that's a spoiler. But yeah. And then the next one that I'm going to talk about is Demonology, which is Banishing Basics. That prompt was book with a missing person. And now I don't really know what books that I would like, what books I would want to read that would have a missing person. So I decided to use my guild reputation points and get a scroll of replacement, which is basically like a mood read scroll. You basically get to choose whatever book you want that, like, it doesn't have to fit the prompts, and count that subject as completed. And for now, like I said, I could change this up and it could be any book that doesn't count for anything that I read during the month. But right now, as a TBR, I'm going to put Archer by Dr. Rebecca Sharp, as I'm trying to get more into the, I guess you could say, straight passing adult romance books, as I read a lot of male, and I kind of want to kind of dip my toe into more more mainstream, I guess you could say, romance books. And I believe that entire series is like each book, I think it's the male like love interest is based off of different characters from Criminal Minds, which is what drew me in. So that's what I'm going to be using for Demonology. For spells and incantations, the spell is copy paste. Word from last book title that, or like the book that you were reading at time of watching the announcement. At the time, I was reading Catching His Heart by Christy Gordon, and I have decided to read the next book in that series, which is Catching His Eye. So it kind of has like two, because Catching His, and then the one that I was reading that I've already read is Heart, and this one is Eye. I just realized that I told you what I needed for Illusionist Rogue, but I completely forgot to tell you which ones I need for Lexomancer, which I need the Conjuration, so the everything. Spells and incantations I will need, so Catching His Eye. And then the other two for that calling is Inscription, which is the hook. First sentence challenge, try 3 and pick the best. I read the first sentence in like 2 like indie male romances, as well as a indie this is the one that I picked, which was The Unicorn Confessions by Cheryl Tara. I actually happened to get this at a book swap, and the author just so happened to be there as a participant, not as an author. And I actually got her to personalize it for me and sign it. But yeah, this is what I'm going to be reading for the inscription prompt. And then the next one Next subject is lore, the Song of Ages, musical term and title. So, what I've decided to do is read Rock Bottom by Cam Newhold. The thing is, on Kindle Unlimited, you can get the box set, like the e-book box set for the series Replay, which is the prequel is Rock Bottom, and I believe you can read it in the box set. I couldn't find it available separately, and so rock is in like rock and roll, but like also like rock bottom. But I think that like if I just decide to like binge that whole series, I could probably fit one of them in. The next one that I would need is Restoration, Uncommon Antidotes. For that, you need a book with a 4+ star rating, average rating on like Goodreads, Storygraph. I use Storygraph, and so I went and I looked, and this may be a bit ambitious. I might end up buying a scroll that allows you to double up, a like 500 plus page book, and I might double up Clockwork Prince with this one. But for right now, I have just like one book equals one prompt for my TBR, and this may be ambitious, but for the restoration prompt, I'm going to be potentially reading Clockwork Princess, which is the third and final book in the Infernal Devices series. And I just talked about Clockwork Prince, and so Clockwork Princess just wraps up that series. And then to go over other ones that I don't need, but it's just fun to try and attempt. For Artist Fury, it's Clockwork Mechanics. Now, when I actually watched the premiere, but that was about noon my time, so I have to find either a 12-word title or a 12 letter title, and for that I have chosen Brittle Heart by Blake Black. And this one is a wide choose, which I hope is more poly than necessarily wide choose, as I don't care for wide choose books that it's basically all the attention's on one central character and there's no intermingling between all of them. I just don't really care for that particular subset of wide choose, but if it's like a wide choose and it's like more of a polyamorous, then that's good. So hopefully that's a little more up my alley than other wide chooses have been in the past. Next one I'm going to talk about is so next Astronomy, Lightfall, which is a color wheel, and I've recorded me getting my color on the spinner wheel, and that ended up being green. So I have chosen the Jorogumo. I'm sorry, I butchered that. By Stella Rainbow. It's the second book in the Sanctuary Forest series. Um, I Stella Rainbow is one of my favorite authors, and that is her most recent, release. Now, the last one is Elemental Studies, which is Earth and Fruits. So, fruit on the cover. Again, I used a scroll of replacement because I have enough guild reputation points, and I could not find one that I wanted to read that had fruit on the cover. So, that one I'm going to be slotting in Twinsincerely Yours by Ian Finley. That one is the eighth and final book in the companion set in the same college set of books by 8 different authors. Um, Twinsincerely Yours is, I think it's going to be interesting as one of the main characters, he's the twin of Saxon James, one of Saxon James' main characters in her book in the series. And those two, Bennett, who is in Saxon James's, which I can't remember the title off the top of my head, and Emmett in Twinsincerely Yours. They are actually the younger brothers of Asher and Wes Dalton in Saxon James and Ian Finley's CU hockey series. Um, Asher was book 4, and West was book 5 in that series. They also have 2 sisters and another brother that's in between Asher and the twins. And then West is the oldest. But one thing that the twins used to do when they were younger, and kind of around the time that their parents ended up passing away, which is why West and Asher ended up raising them, was they would switch places and no one could tell the difference between the two. And one way that you can tell the difference after they grow up, because in Asher's book, which is I can't remember off the top of my head. It's something study dates. Yeah. Anyways, I can't think of it. Well, line mates and study dates. I believe it was Emmett accidentally cut his palm open, and which it's not like depicted, like it's not really gory or anything. It's just they're at Asher's like future in-laws place, and Emmett is holding a knife and it slips and it cuts him. But I don't think it's that graphic. But anyways, he ended up needing stitches and that left a scar, and Bennett doesn't have that. So they're able to, even at like, I think they're like 19, I want to say, maybe around that, like first couple years of post-secondary, and they're still changing places. Emmett doesn't much care for English, and Bennett struggles with math. They have been switching and taking each other's courses. Bennett taking Emmett's English courses, and Emmett taking Bennett's math courses, since they were like, I think 7 or 8. Um, and so in um, Bennett's book, his boyfriend ends up finding out that he's a twin and that everything they've been doing. Um, and in Sincerely Yours, um, yeah, uh, Emmett's love interest is the professor that, like like calculus, I think it was, professor for Bennett while they were still doing switching. So it's kind of sort of teacher student, like professor student esque, but they technically weren't, because it was supposed to be Bennett, not Emmett, taking the class. Yeah. Anyways, so um, that is my courses or my classes for Aurelium this year. I am also uh, taking part in the Adventures in Aurelium, which is the year-long challenge game, whatever you want to call it, that ties in with the Magical Readathon. And for that, the one that I've chosen in for my choices, my April one is, the prompt is, read this book entirely in the AM hours. And for that, I'm going to try to use Good Pucking Luck by Riley Hart. Now, I'm probably going to be listening to the audio off of Everand. So that one I'm planning on reading like one day. Hopefully get up early enough that I can start it before, like, probably around like 8:30, and then try to just read up until noon, because the audio is, I think, about 6.5 hours ish. But on because I listen on 2 times speed, it should take me only about 3 hours. I think it's like 3 hours and 20 minutes, because it's like, I think, about 6 hours and 40 minutes. But that is going to be my attempt to do my Adventures in Aurelium, or Adventures in Eldia, sorry, prompt for April. Now, I'm going to, those were my, like, my wanting to read books for the Magical Readathon. Now, I do have a list of Kindle Unlimited books, because I can't decide sometimes, and I tend to have the maximum of 20 books out at a time. And like, once I finish a book, I either put like the next book in the series on, or maybe the next book, another book by that same author, or there's some other book that I want to read and that's on KU, that I replace the books that I finish. So those ones that I have currently are Grave Situation by Louisa Masters, which is I believe it's a new fantasy series by her. And then another Louisa Masters that I want to read is I've Got This, which is the first in the Joy Universe series. I really want to try to read those, and then I'll probably reread I think it's batting style. As one of the main characters in batting style is the nephew slash adoptive son of, well, no, um, the one of the main characters in batting style is the adoptive son of one of the main characters in one of the later Joy Universe books. Um, yeah, he ends up being adopted by his uncle's husband after his uncle abandons him, and I think it's his sister, um, after their parents die. So the what becomes the ex-husband ends up taking in these two kids, is I think what happens. Like I said, I haven't read the Joy Universe series yet, and I want to so then I can see what all happens. Another book that I want to read is 68 Whiskey by Aaron Russell, which is the second book in the Possum Hollow series. It's comes after Stupid Dirty. I'm just going to try and probably do this rapid fire. So the next one is Mile High by Liz Tomford. Tomford. And then also Sports Balls for Lovers by Ali Lasky. You Can Count on Me by Faye Quinn. Bite Me by Faye Quinn. Another one by Louisa Masters that I want to read that I might just binge the entire series because they're all like short, like novellas, is Aqua by like Louisa Masters. Another one is Undercover by Elliot Grayson. And the last one that I have on my Kindle Unlimited TBR is Beautifully Savage Butterfly by K.M. Newholt. So I'm going to try a new, hopefully I'm going to try a new kind of wrap up series for the month of April. What I'm thinking of doing is either once a week or once every 2 weeks, I will sit down and I will talk about the books that I've read in that either 1 or 2 weeks. Just because I find that I'm not comfortable enough to vlog. It didn't work back in February. And I don't feel like I do a very accurate wrap up at the end of the month, because by the end of the month I forget what about the stories that I read at the beginning of the month, and I can't summarize them, or I can't really get my thoughts out. But stay tuned to see if I can figure that out. If not, I will probably just try to do a wrap up at either the end of April or the beginning of March or beginning of May. But yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye.